Hey, I want to welcome everybody to this podcast that we're calling Let's Talk About It with Stephen and Amanda. And a lot of you who follow our ministry know me from the videos I do and the content I put out, but you don't really get to hear too much from my wife. This is my lovely wife, Amanda. So anyways, we're kind of new to the podcast space, I mean, this is going to be pretty simple at first. We just have one video view and just one mic. So we hope you guys can hear us okay and this goes good. But we just wanted to break ground here and do this first episode. So welcome to the podcast, Amanda.
Oh, thanks. Whose idea was it?
It was hers.
Mine.
So, yep. Yeah, we've been discussing names for a few weeks, and she came up with a name. Let's talk about it.
We weren't really discussing names because you were just like, oh, we'll just say Stephen and Amanda podcast. And I was like, well.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about whether we should call it something or not, or just say the Stephen and Amanda podcast.
And then one day, I wasn't really thinking about the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just kind of thinking about a conversation that we had. And then it just kind of clicked in my head. It's like, we're always talking about, let's talk about it. But because our job schedules, it's like, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But we will talk about it. So I thought, let's talk about it.
Yeah, this is actually on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
Because Amanda's been working full time for about a year now. I think it was, almost a decade that you were not working in the world. You were just
8 years.
Full-time mom, which of course is a full-time job.
Yeah.
But you went back to work, what was it, in December 2023, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We can discuss the name of it because I'd have to sign some papers, but
that's fine. She works in the medical field.
Yeah.
She works for a medical clinic here. And you were driving into Gilbert every day, having to fight what we call the 347, which is this road we live in a place called Maricopa, Arizona, and it's gotten so big so quick that they only got one road, like pretty much between us and Phoenix.
There's a road, but if you go the back way, you have to go through another city.
It's 30 minutes. The main way though is just this one 2-lane road. So
they were envisioning future prospects of the city growing.
Yeah, I guess not.
So,
no, I think they should have. But
yeah.
Anyways, for the last year though, you've been having travel back and forth, and it was at least an hour and a half, 2 hours of driving time every day? With
traffic, it could be up to an hour and a half if there was multiple accidents too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember on Sundays even being 2 hours, but
yeah.
Anyway, so last month of December again, so about a year into it, you got a transfer here in Maricopa. So now you live right up the road, so that's really nice.
I live or work.
You work right up the road from where you live.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is here.
It's very nice, convenient.
Yeah, so we're happy to have her home more now.
You save a lot of time.
Yeah. But we got a lot of stuff going on. We got 4 kids. We've got one graduating this year and another one that's 16 and a half, sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got a freshman, right?
Freshman.
We got a 14-year-old.
One just started junior high.
Yep, one just started junior high. So
it's so sad. They all grow up so quickly. I know.
For sure. It's sad, but it's been exciting too, though. It's exciting too.
Exciting.
You want to hang on to all the memories, and each stage is so beautiful and so wonderful with our kiddos.
Yeah.
But we've actually really enjoyed the teenage years.
I know. There's some, I've heard several people randomly say, the teenage years are the hardest. And I'm like, they're my favorite. I mean,
yeah.
Just all the stages have been great, but the teenage years so far have not disappointed, and they've just been great.
Yeah.
So
they really have been, and I think that's an encouragement to parents out there. Be careful that you're not just buying into sort of the standard lies of the enemy, that come from the world, that, hey, when your kids get in the teenager years, look out, they're not going to want anything to do with you and it's going to be hell. No, I love our relationship with all of our kids, but our teenagers especially, I feel like they want to hang out with us. I feel like they always want to hang out with us, and we have a son now that's dating a wonderful young lady who goes to our church, and he's always wanting to bring his girlfriend over and hang out with us. So that makes me feel cool, that I can hang with the kids, I can hang with the teens.
I know it's just time. You don't realize how much they're growing up until they start just all these new chapters in their life, like college applications and dating, and you're like, it's emotional. There's just moments where I'm washing dishes and I'm like, so sad. But it's also great too.
It's sad, but it's exciting too, because we just know that they're going to go out there and do great things for the Lord and do great things in life,
We're very, very proud parents, that's for sure.
We are. And, we've been in ministry now a long time. Our kids have grown up, being in a ministry family, and it was always our heart to not push things on them, not pressure them into things that it was our heart we want them to develop their own relationship with God and have the freedom to serve the Lord, right? I mean, they knew our standards and they knew that, there's just certain things as a family we weren't going to do, know, but we tried to not be controlling and not push our faith on them. And I feel like as we just prayed for them and ministered to them and have been their parents, I'm just so amazed at what God has done in their lives and what God continues to do,
Yeah, I mean, I say this to the kids all the time, trying to have grace for each other, mom and that's one thing that we do with our kids. I think we do well at is just hey, we've never had a 17, 16, 15-year-old, 11-year-old before. So we're walking this out all together, and, we're going to get things wrong. And I think when we do, we're really quick to own it and apologize. And I think that's one of the things that I've heard most from the kids is we really appreciate that. And because, we miss it. But one of the things is we're not perfect parents.
No.
And, we haven't perfected, but we just know we know that our kids are all their own individuals, and that's really distracting.
Sorry.
I'm trying to
I was just going to show them a picture of our kids here real quick for those that are watching the video version, but go on. Sorry about that.
But no, they're great kids. And I think too is, I heard this a long, long time ago in a conference is, people with big families, they need to not clump your kids all together because they're you can't talk to all your kids the same. And that's so true because some of our kids, they're all sensitive in their own way. But if you really want to, one of our kids, it goes a lot when you just hey, let's go grab a bite to eat. And it's they open up.
Yeah. And
then one, it's oh, well, let's go grab some groceries or let's go do this. But we make sure to try to do one-on-one, get to know them. And it's very important that they feel they're trying to be understood, and that we're trying.
Yeah.
I think the thing is try.
Yeah, one-on-one time with your kids is really good. And when you're in a big family, it can be hard to do.
Yeah.
But you just have to do it. But I think you've helped me with this over the years on trying to understand the kids individually because I just instinctually a lot of times when they were younger, would try to handle them a lot of times the same way. But you try to encourage me hey, so-and-so is going to respond better if you go about it this way. And then, we're a team in parenting, so there's some times where I say, Amanda, can you talk to so-and-so? I just don't have it in me right now.
Wrong. First of all, everything.
Yeah, but what's really helped me the last couple of years with parenting, I think, is just learning more about myself. And then also we've been going to marriage counseling the last several years and we've learned so much about the things of your past and how that affects you today. And as we've grown so much, it's just made us such better parents. So that's one thing I just wanted to say is that, if you want to be a better parent, you have to work on yourself.
100%.
And you have to work on your marriage too. The more you work on yourself and your marriage, the more that's going to help you as a parent,
And also too, like parenting, it's a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can't be selfish. And there's moments where I have found myself being selfish. It's like, I really don't want to do this right now. I'm really tired and stuff like that. And then like, as soon as I see like that, I'm like, it just like, okay, we're going to do this.
If you do it right, if you do parenting in a way that honors the Lord, it should kill selfishness.
But we don't always pass the test. I mean,
well, of course not.
No.
We have moments.
Yeah.
But that's our heart. And it has been a lot of sacrifice over the years, of course.
A lot.
And I think that's one of the purposes that God has in both marriage and in family.
Yeah.
I remember years ago when I was first getting into ministry, I would meet people like in their late 20s, early 30s, and they still hadn't had kids yet. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to judge them, but I just know, we started early and we had kids when we were real young. And I just know how much it helped me really to grow up,
there's a lot of growing up.
And come into my manhood quicker. Because when you are responsible for a wife and you're responsible for little babies that have to be fed
all the time.
I mean, it just does things in you. It helps you, and I know there's some people out there that, can't have kids or whatever, but God will put you in situations where responsibility is put on you and you have to respond to that. And it helps to make you the man or the woman that God's called you to be, so, I just want to say, don't give in the lies of the enemy about culture and society. It really is such a great blessing, having family, having kids,
Yeah. There's, no matter what it is, whether you get married later in life or whatever, and I don't think you're ever, I hear it too all the time. It's like, well, I'm 38, so I'm just past having kids. I'm like, no, you're not. Mm-hmm. And I just met actually a lady the other day who, she was like 45 and she had her first kid. And she was like, I'm so glad I didn't listen to my sister who told me you're too old to have. She's like, I can't imagine. So
yeah,
if you are able to have children, they're a blessing, but
I think this has been one of the main areas that society's been under attack from the enemy. Even if you go to the Godhead with God, he calls himself the Father, right? So fathering, mentoring, taking people under your wings, being responsible for others and helping others come up. This goes to the core of who we are, created in the image and likeness of God. So even if you can't have kids, I think it's the will of God to find people you can sow into.
You got to be careful to not necessarily. You can have kids more than there's so many great avenues where you can have kids, whether it's through adoption, IVF, the natural way, or if you. So I want to be careful with how.
I am.
Yeah.
But I'm saying in general.
Yeah, right.
In general, it's just, you can always find someone to pour into.
Correct.
You can always find someone to mentor.
Yeah.
And even be like a spiritual father or two, or spiritual mother or two. But, I've never regretted having kids as young as we did. Mm-hmm. And they've been such a blessing. Keep learning more and more from them.
Oh, yeah. They definitely have been the subject that, you have all these subjects that you learn in school, but they're the ultimate. I've learned so much. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
I keep forgetting that that's there.
No, that's right. Just got to look at it every now and then and say, hey. Hi. Yeah. Eventually we'll get like
I have another side of my
dueling
face.
videos going and all of it. Maybe to have one of those fancy.
I promise I have
fancy mic things.
I have a right side of my face. So,
So what would you say has been the most challenging things about being a mother and raising kids?
When we were having kids, probably the stereotype we got married young because we had to, because we were pregnant before we got married. I heard that one several times.
Oh, someone accused us of that?
Because we were married 4 months, and then we found out we were pregnant with Sophia, which was a big surprise. And then it was like,
sorry, we had a little incident with our technology here. You were saying?
Yeah. So, and then after we had Sophia, it was like baby. And so I think that's where a lot of some of we talked about earlier, how we've been working on ourselves and going to therapy, and some of the trauma that I picked up early on in, our marriage and parentinghood was just kind of feeling, I don't know, I was made to feel guilty about how many kids that I had. It was very irresponsible
of us. So this
was
a challenge early on.
Yeah.
From like other people.
Right. And I didn't realize how much that affected me until we moved out of state. We made a big move across country to, the Carolinas. And
what made you realize that was affecting you?
So I was at this mom's group. I got invited to this mom's group one day, and we were in this circle, and there was probably like 30 moms, and each mom had like 4 kids. And we were introducing all the new moms in the group, and I was like, "Hi, I'm Amanda. I'm from Alaska. I have 4 kids." And like all of them just looked at me and they're like, "That's it? You only have 4?" And I'm like, "Well, how many do you have?" Like the average mom had like 7 or 8 kids.
Lord, what was this, I was like, group?
You're gonna need to edit that out.
I'm not. This is let's talk about it. So just a joke. Go ahead.
Anyways, and so but when I said out loud, I have 4 kids, I instantly felt myself like I didn't want to say how many kids, but I did. And because I think I said, "Well, I have several kids," and they're like, "Well, how many do you have?" "I have 4." And they're like, "Oh, that's it." So then it got to like asking myself, why do I feel guilty of saying?
Normally, it's like on the other end, like you have that many kids,
It's usually this response we get, and then when people ask their ages, they're all stair steps, and then we have that gap.
Yeah, they're pretty close together.
Yeah.
So
and so then it was like, I started, working on that. I realized there's something there, there's a trauma there, a trauma response of like with my feelings and stuff like that.
This probably goes back to people pleasing, trying to people please, right? Yeah, which can be a trauma response,
Yeah.
So, yeah, me and Amanda believe that everybody grows up with trauma, no matter if you come from a good family, bad family, it doesn't matter. Everybody grows up with trauma.
Yeah.
Trauma can happen, just real subtly, it can be anything, just one little moment. Like, I heard one time, like, story of a girl who her father came home from work. He was just exhausted. He sat down and she went to jump up in his lap as a little girl, like 3 or 4-year-old girl. And, he just said, he picked her up and put her down. He said, "Can you please just give me a second? Daddy needs a moment." And like that experience of trauma, and she like, I feel for the dad. Like, I know he was tired.
She internalized that.
Yeah.
And
it became an emotional wound that went deep, even though it didn't seem like even a big deal. And it actually affected relationships ongoing. She had to eventually deal with that and deal with the rejection wound.
Right.
So anyways, what me and Amanda believe is that everybody grows up with trauma, and, whether you're from a good home or a bad home, but you have to deal with those childhood traumas because they will go on to affect your life in one way or another.
Right.
So anyways, as we have dealt with,
we've walked through a lot of,
so
this is something that we recently have learned. It hasn't just been like, we've known about this wisdom. This is newly found wisdom.
Yeah. Some of it's pretty new still, last few years.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. But that's really helped us though,
Mhm.
because I realized that I had some major traumas going back in my past that were affecting our marriage, that were
Mhm.
affecting the way I was parenting, affecting everything. It affects
Yeah.
everything, So when you deal with those traumas, like if it's a rejection wound,
Yeah.
of course you first got to go to God and say, you get to the root of what that wound, the lie it keeps telling, right?
Right.
So you speak the truth. I am accepted by the Father. I'm validated. But then we help one another too, because we are expressions of God's love to each other. So like if I know I have a rejection wound, well, receiving your love and
Yeah.
acceptance, really helps with that. But
Yeah.
we're aware of it. We know how to love one another, and we know how to strengthen one another in these ways, and it's been really helpful.
Yeah, and we've been with each other for a very long time, so we just know each other, and we can always tell when one of us is being triggered. I mean, that's just like the word of the century.
I even hate using that word, but it really is.
It really is.
It's what happens.
It's really made for this context. It's being triggered in your emotions and.
I think I like that John Chris video.
Yeah. No, but I'm triggered.
I was triggered. But anyways, it really is like a fitting word.
Yes.
Because it refers to, like, in a moment, like there's something said or done that triggers that wound.
Right.
And that it invokes a response, like an emotional response that is kind of beyond your conscious decisions. And you've got to learn to recognize it, right?
Yeah.
And get control of it. Because if you're not careful, you can sin against others through your own emotional triggers, and it's like the wounds that have happened to you, but it's no excuse. You don't have a right to treat others badly,
right?
Because you haven't got control over those triggers, and you haven't received healing for that.
I think the biggest thing that has been so helpful for not only me, but I know for both of us, is understanding just this whole side of, going to counseling and stuff like that, and just how I don't even know how to, I'm trying to articulate it, but
the Lord just led us there,
Yeah,
let us do this.
It's there's just so much to it, I think, and also having grace for yourself to be I really want to work on this, or you're addressing, things, issues, and then also what I have come to find, and what you have come to find is you have more grace working with other people, interacting with other people, and it's recently, just people we've interacted with, it's whoa, there's something there.
Yeah, it helps you to understand people more, have more empathy, have more patience.
Yeah, a lot of, and just having grace, more empathy, and just be oh, my heart just goes out to them because they can't see it, but I can.
Yeah, but also it's helped us with setting boundaries too.
Yes.
So you want to talk about that, why that's been important?
Boundaries have been good.
It's one of our favorite words.
Boundaries have been good because I think before the last, probably has been, I don't even know where.
We've been ever since we moved from South Carolina in 2020, we've really been in just a whole new season where things have happened and God's taught us things and transformed us in ways like never before.
Right. And I feel like I've had some pretty good, I don't even know. I don't want to say you were bad at boundaries and I was good at it, because I obviously needed work. I think we both needed work, but you especially, because you were just so you're a thoughtful person and you have a heart. You're very compassionate. So whenever compassionate people, they just want to just jump in and help. Yeah. And a lot of times it was
which I've actually learned too goes to some of my childhood trauma as well. Yeah. Because therapists and counselors, they've been able to articulate how trauma shapes people, and it forms what they call an attachment style.
Right.
So I have what's called an anxious attachment style. You have an avoidant attachment style. So a lot of times avoidance and anxious people kind of hook up and it becomes this vicious cycle.
They say opposite attract,
if you're not
and
careful.
It's true.
So people like with who have anxious wounds, they have a lot of rejection wounds. So they want to be accepted and they want to be loved by people. So unfortunately, though, what they end up doing is they end up not setting healthy boundaries. They kind of let people jerk them around and mistreat them. And they allow this to happen because they're afraid if they put down a hard and fast boundary that the person's going to leave them.
Right.
You understand? So what you're referring to is even in the ministry, a lot of times over the years, I would have friends in the ministry who I'd kind of let into my inner circle and I would befriend and I'd open up to, but I should have never have let them be that close to me. I should have never have opened up to them like that.
Well, there was just that. There was no boundaries. And so it's
because they ended up mistreating me a lot.
Yes. And that was really, really hard to see because there's times where I'm like, I could see it, but you couldn't.
Yeah. And like you're saying, it's not a lot of times just one or the other. It's a combination of things. I do have a heart that wants to believe the best in others, despite what some people say. And wants to love, people and have grace for people. But the thing about it is we have to protect our marriage. Right. We have to protect our children. We have to protect the ministry that God's given us charge over to protect. And we also have to protect our peace, in our walk with God.
Right.
And those boundaries are for that. And also it doesn't help the other people too if you don't have boundaries. The boundaries is good for them too, because they need to realize that they can't just walk all over you. Right. And if you, I heard this from someone in the counseling space last few years, I picked it up, I said it a lot, but they said that the behavior that you tolerate, you're actually training those people how to treat
you.
Right. What you tolerate is actually training someone how to treat you. So some of these people don't know how to treat people right. And you need to help them by saying, hey, here's a boundary. And if you're going to act in this way, we're just not going to be able to, have the level of relationship.
It trickles down to a lot of aspects of your life, even going down to even just texting. That's something that I have learned a lot. If people know your quick response, you text back quickly and stuff like that, and then it's just one of those things where it's do I really need to, is this something that I can address? Do I have to address right now or can I address this later? And I think because of just how society is today, we live in such a fast world. It's we need a quick response. And sometimes, and especially having kids, they're watching you.
Yeah.
And so whenever you're just like this, oh, quick, it's you're putting this before.
This is something where I was really bad at back in the day, correct?
You said it.
I had bad boundaries when it came to mixing work and ministry and family time. And of course, when you're someone who's prone to the religious spirit, which I have been in the past, that could be one of my weaknesses. You'll come up with religious reasons why
you'll spiritualize your reasoning.
You'll spiritualize all your nonsense, right? And so for instance, when I was engaged in the case, the justice case in 2019 with Todd Bentley and Rick Joyner, I just became consumed by that, and I was working on it day and night.
Yeah.
And I thought, and I even had some other people tell me that I needed to do this, which I shouldn't have listened, quite honestly.
It was bad.
But I just thought, this is a special assignment. It's not going to be forever, and I just got to get this done, right?
Right.
And it was a good cause. It was a noble cause. But what I've realized since is that you can do the will of the Lord, and you can do noble causes like that while still having good boundaries to protect your marriage.
Correct.
And protect your family.
Right.
And if you knock off for a couple hours and are present for your wife and kids, it's still going to be there next morning.
I mean, and I'm trying to remember the conversation. Was this that we had? Yep, here's up. It just has to. This is it.
Is that, you're feeling that sweat on your neck?
It's just, I don't I just had to put it up. This is the real me.
You look like you're about
I
to
think,
clean some floors.
you don't. That's how you really learn something and you get it down is by trial and error, right? Pain is a good.
It's a great teacher.
It's a good thing to be like, I will remember this forever. I will never do that again. Never say never, but I mean, you. It's like you.
Yeah.
It instills something in
I
you.
have to learn the hard way a lot of times. Unfortunately,
it's a good wake up call.
Mm-hmm.
Is unfortunately is painful.
Mm-hmm.
Trauma.
Well, it's one of the reasons why God gives mentors, is because if you listen to a mentor who you trust, they can save you a lot of that pain by adhering to wisdom. But I think when I was younger, I had such a broken relationship with authority because I had a pastor in my church, a woman pastor, who ended up preying on me as a kid.
Right.
So that trust with authority, especially like ecclesiastical authority, was so broken as a kid. I think I had a really hard time from that point forward, even listening to authority figures.
Right. And we had.
Well, let me just finish the thought. I wanted to say that if I could have listened more to like authority figures, people with wisdom when I was younger, I think I could have been saved from so much of that pain. But I couldn't listen because there wasn't lessons. Yeah, there wasn't trust established with authority.
I think that's what. And I remember a couple of times where people were like, "Yeah, I have a problem with authority," and it came off the wrong way, which I think they recognized.
They recognized
something that was broken, but the deliverance was.
They would like condemn you for it and just be like, submit.
It was like they made you feel bad about it, and it was just really hard.
They didn't understand why I had that problem, and they didn't have the wisdom or the ability to help me heal from it.
To approach.
Like to heal the wound, like the root wound, to be able to restore that, which, a lot of people don't, and that's why it was ultimately my responsibility, our responsibility to recognize it and heal from it and correct it, but there's usually always a reason.
There's been a lot of life lessons throughout these past 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's been really good, though.
Some we've had to learn the hard way, but ultimately we've learned.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still learning.
Yeah.
And it's been quite the journey.
Yeah.
For sure.
It has been.
Yeah. And I think that was one of the heart behind starting a podcast is just talking about just everyday things. I know, you travel, and we try to travel with you in the summer when the kids are out of school and in ministry and stuff like that. Because I'm not with you all the time. And I think starting this podcast, getting to see just our dynamic and just talking about just everyday life and just things that we just talk about. Really, you're just kind of just eavesdropping into just common conversations that we have, and we don't hear. I feel like a lot of people are they don't talk about it because it's like, well, they kind of have to keep up with they have to spiritualese, and I'm just kind of like, we're very real people, very raw people, and we just want that.
Yeah, that's one of the good things about podcasts nowadays. It's an opportunity to be authentic,
right,
and just share from your heart and be honest.
Also, another I'm such a dork, but another name that I thought about was just another podcast, because there's so many. I mean, that's the form. That's the format these days, but it's great. It's a wonderful format.
Yeah, I've resisted having a podcast forever just because everybody's doing it, sort of thing. But I've been wanting to do something, and I wanted to say this. I've been wanting to do something with you for a while now. Right. And part of the brokenness that we had to walk through, I think, and get healing about was there, through all the warfare and all the pain and all the hardship that we've experienced, especially since we've gone into full-time ministry, it is not for the faint of heart. It did create more disconnection between us in our marriage.
That's the unfortunate part that we've had to.
Yeah, and I don't know how much you're ready to share, right now. I know we won't share everything right now, but in the future, I think we'll open up more about this.
Yeah.
But it was really shaky there for a while, and we didn't know if we were going to make it, and God just saved us.
Yeah.
Saved us individually, saved our marriage, saved our family, and we're just so thankful for that.
Right.
But I just wanted to say that, when the enemy attacks you and when there's connection created between you and your spouse, it shows up in every area of your life. And it did show up in the ministry.
Yeah.
I could never see that. And there was just Stephen's ministry,
right?
But this has always been our ministry.
And it's easy to say like, well, my ministry, because you're the one, you're like fully hands-on, and I was just behind the scenes support,
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to say. Amanda has always been involved in the ministry, but most of it's been behind the scenes. You were the bookkeeper for a while, and of course, one of our greatest ministries, if not our greatest ministry, is to our children and our family.
Yeah.
So you've been on the home front, Yeah,
that was the biggest thing. Because when we were dating, we just knew we were going to be in ministry.
Uh-huh.
And I think the biggest thing and I'm proud to say that has stuck the last 20 years, is I wanted stability on the home front.
Yeah. Yeah, and we always had a heart that we were going to protect that, but you just go through stuff in ministry, the warfare, the attacks, the betrayals. The betrayals in ministry I can start crying right now, but I'm not going to, because I'm the man.
But it's very attractive, though.
Oh, yeah?
When you're vulnerable.
I am a crier, I'm like Jeremiah, like the weeping prophet here. So I just be prepared. I'm probably going to cry at some point on these podcasts.
This podcast is sponsored by Kleenex.
Not really. So don't say it. But ministry is just so hard, and that's why you really have to have a call. It's not for the faint of heart, and we would not be in the ministry still today unless God hadn't called us, unless God hadn't, by His grace, kept us in the ministry.
And it's also just it's confirming, though, all the and I think it's one thing that we do that we're really good at too, is we're really good at reflecting and seeing where we've come from, because it's encouraging. I think you need to do that. Anybody in ministry, I think you need to do that to just reaffirm where you're at and reevaluate where you're at. Reset, reevaluate, reaffirm, or it's kind of like
God's really given us a reset the last few years.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important. I think it's wise to do. And we do it often. Just reflecting, looking back at where we've come from, what we've been through. And if you guys do the things, which we will delve into on future podcasts, but the hell that we've gone through, I'm very proud of us.
Yeah. I'm just amazed at God, how God's brought us through. And it's just amazing. I feel more in love with you than ever before. And I feel like our family has never been closer, and never been healthier and stronger. It's not to say we're not going to face more challenges,
Yeah.
But God is so faithful. He really is. He's so faithful. And, we're all working through things. We're all mature and all growing. But if you keep seeking the Lord will make you aware of the things you don't know. He'll teach you. Right. He has His way of teaching. And sometimes I ask, Lord, why didn't you teach me this 20 years ago, like 10 years ago?
In a less embarrassing way.
In a less painful way, because sometimes we learn just through great pain. But you just have to trust God with those things, because His timing is perfect. Like, I think sometimes that God can't teach us certain things at a certain time because we're not ready to receive it.
Right.
And also we're not ready to change. And I think the things that you become responsible for, so just so thankful. But, we went through a real shaking in our lives last 5 years or so.
Yeah, 6. Last
year was a year for just healing, that we dedicated wholly to healing.
It was definitely reset, massive reset.
Yeah, we reset after 2020, like when we came out here.
Yeah.
But then we went through some more stuff when we were out here.
Right.
And then we had to do it again. So last year we just said, you know what? Because I was wanting to do things and more things in ministry with you last year.
Right.
But you were like, I think we just need a year here
Yeah.
to devote this whole year to just healing and
Yeah.
family. And we did that.
Yeah.
And it was really good.
Yeah. And we were very honest of where we were at.
Uh-huh.
And I think you have to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how the other person's going to react. I was like, I can't even think about ministry. No offense, but I can't think about ministry right now. We just have to narrow the scope to just us and our kids.
Yeah, and with everything you've gone through, there was like years, really since the 2019 incident, right, in Fort Mill, involving Morningstar, Rick Joyner, and Todd Bentley. But since then, you've had just a terrible time, even wanting anything to do with the ministry. Can you just talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah. I don't even know where to start, which that's a phrase you'll probably hear a lot.
Well, we found out that a lot of our heroes weren't quite the people.
Yeah, you hear that. I've heard that phrase on movies and shows, like never meet your heroes. And we found a lot of unfortunate truth in that.
Mm-hmm.
But also we've met a lot of great people that have come beside us, and I'm gonna get emotional just talking about it. But we've met a lot of great people, and they've just really been in the shadows. What these people and God has put in our lives, I'm just so grateful and thankful for them. But I mean, just a lot of stuff that we've walked through in ministry, and I have walked through in ministry. It was like, we've had this conversation of like, God, I will never turn my back on you. But your church right now, I can't hang. I can't handle.
And that's okay.
That's an honest conversation. And people that I struggle with being vulnerable. Even with my closest friends,
with me.
I struggle even with my closest friend. I really struggle with being vulnerable, and that's something that I've had to work through in counseling. But even people when I finally opened up, those close people were like, I do too. Like I struggle with ministry, and they're. So that was like once you say that thing out loud.
Yeah. And you love the Lord.
Oh yeah.
And you love God's people, but
I love people.
We've been hurt, we said, we've been betrayed. Yeah. There's just so many betrayals you go through, so many hurts. Like in the 2019 incident, we reached out to some leaders that we held in high esteem to help us with a very difficult matter, and they didn't help us. No. They hurt us.
No.
They betrayed us. Or
maybe some of the advice they gave us wasn't really advice. It was just kind of like, wow, this is what you get. And it's like, whoa.
Some of them lacked compassion. Yeah. We were mislabeled, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
But, you took a break from ministry there for a while, even though you continued to, minister a little bit like in our local church and stuff. Yeah. And, but I do believe that God wants us to do some things together. So, I'm really excited about this podcast, the opportunity to do something in ministry together.
I know.
And we believe that we'll pastor together too.
So this is just the first podcast. And so we're just getting used to this format, inviting the camera in, and it's going to get better, I hope.
No.
It will.
I think it's going good so far.
It will. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is just some of the conversations that we've had, and just being raw and real and honest. Ministry was something that I was like, I love Jesus. But right now, ministry is like, it's not something that I'm seeking. And I don't think it's just, but I do love people, and I do have a heart for the church and the body. And I think we went into ministry just wanting to protect the purity, and that's interesting how everything that has played out thus far has been like not pure.
Well, a lot of things. And we just want to say, we do believe that God loves the church. Jesus died for the church, and there's good leaders out there. There's good churches. We know some of them.
Yeah.
A lot of good people, but there's also a lot of stuff, a lot of corruption, a lot of abuse, and we want to take a stand against that. But, we've had a shaking in the ministry since we've been in the ministry, but I feel like it's helped to address things in my heart. Like when we started out in ministry, it was pure motive, I believe.
No,
Like
and I'm not saying that it wasn't.
But like along the way, though, things just happen.
Right.
As for me, like my side of it, I ended up hooking up with people in ministry, running with people in ministry that did not have pure hearts.
Well, they might have started off that way.
I think they may have started out too at some point, but there were definitely some ungodly, I think, heart motivations, that got in there. So I feel like I've been in process the last several years of going to the cross and dying even to ungodly ministry ambition. I mean, I've told you many times over the last few years that like there's certain people I think that I would go to before, and I think that I needed something from them, or I had to get help from them. But like I can honestly say I don't want anything from them anymore. I don't need anything. All I need is what God, can give me and will give me. And
but I think too that's encouraging, because you've kind of like found where that thread was stemming from. Like why you asked the question, why, where is this coming from? Why do I feel like this person can,
and just to clarify.
It's been healthy.
Yeah, just to clarify, what I mean is we do need each other. God gives us to each other to help one another, even in ministry.
Right.
But there was something that was unhealthy in me that I think I was seeking from others that I should have been seeking from the Lord.
Correct.
Right? And that there came a switch there at some point.
Yes.
In my heart, So one of the things I've been able to do last few years is we revamped our partnership program, and I started ministering more to our partners, like one-on-one.
Right.
And whether it's a partner that just gives $10 a month or like $200 a month, like it doesn't matter.
Or they even just support with just prayer.
Yeah. But I've had this chance to just pour into the partners, like in private, and all kinds of people, and our, these aren't famous people. These aren't people that really can give anything to me, as far as big things, but. It's felt so great just to love people and just to serve people like in that way, and just to get back to what I felt like the heart of ministry should be all about.
Right.
And it's so easy when you get in the ministry for those things to get messed up.
Right.
And it really is true. Like the Bible says, poor company corrupts good manners, good habits, right? You really got to befriend people in ministry and run with people that, are going to help you be the man or woman of God that you want to be. And sometimes we can end up hooking up with people because of ungodly ministry ambition, rather than people that are going to help us be better men and women of God, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So I just thank God for what we've gone through. So we've gone through this process of purification, but also there's been changes in relationships. There's been changes in friendships. We've had to distance ourselves from some people, and then bring some people closer. And it's been really good.
Just a lot of life has happened, and again, like a lot of reflecting, having to reset some things, reprioritize, like checking, like okay. And I think a lot of times people kind of just shuffle peace at the bottom, where God and peace, or if you have God, you should have perfect peace, because that's what He is.
Yeah, she talks about peace. That's like been another one of our banners that we've been hoisting. Like I feel like I talk about peace all the time in my sermons whenever I go preach, but we really feel like God has given us peace that surpasses all understanding, and we have a desire to protect that peace. And there's a lot of drama, like in ministry, a lot of unnecessary drama.
Drama or trauma?
All of the above.
It was like my dad.
People can be drama llamas and trauma llamas. I don't know.
I wasn't sure what you said.
Sorry, I brought the whole llama in there.
There can be. Not everything is drama or trauma.
No, there can be a lot of what I call unnecessary drama in ministry. And we used to get caught up in some of it, and it steals your peace.
Again, it all ties to, your heart and and what's going on.
Yeah.
And if you don't have this in check, it's gonna play out. It's a long time ago when I used to work at the hospital, I had a coworker she said something and I never forget it. She said, "You know what you eat in private, you wear in public." And she was struggling with trying. She had a disorder. She was trying to, overcome. And she says, "But that's so true." And it's what you do in private, it comes out in public. And so I've from here on out, from there on out, I remembered that, and it's so true. It's like you got to take care of this temple,
Yep, I battled with that too, as you know, as we've talked about.
Yeah.
And I've been able to lose and keep off about 50 pounds over the last few years, and I still got more to lose, but yeah, I've had to get down to the roots of what was causing that disorder.
Yeah.
And there was something deeper that had to be addressed, which no matter how much striving and fighting it, would never help until you address the root issues, and I feel like I've been doing a lot better with that.
Yeah.
But we have about 10 minutes or so, Amanda.
Yeah. My child's like, "Are you picking me up?"
Oh yeah. We'll get them soon.
Yeah.
When our podcast is over, son.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to ask you, I hope this is okay. I can kind of put you on the spot.
But if not, we'll edit it out.
We will, I think, talk about this more in the future. But I have sort of taken up like a justice cause once again to stand up for victims of clergy sexual abuse. I don't like calling myself a victim because that's not my identity. But it is but in reality. It is a reality, though.
Yeah.
Based on what has happened to some people. And
right.
I was a victim of clergy sexual abuse as a child, which I didn't even know until I was 34 years old, until 2019. I didn't even know to call it that.
Right.
Because when you're a victim of sexual abuse as a kid, one of the tactics of the enemy is to bury you in shame.
Right.
And when you're buried in shame, you can't come to an understanding of what really happened to you.
Right.
And the enemy ends up telling you that you're the bad one, that it was your fault when I was a child and the woman that abused me, was like in her mid-30s.
Right.
And a pastor. But anyways, I just wanted to ask you, I've taken up this new sort of like justice cause, and I'm going to be saying some things that I felt like I was never able to say or never permitted to say.
Correct.
In 2019. And how does that make you feel? Sorry. That's what therapists ask.
Yes. Not great.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's hard.
Just being honest, I prefer, but also I have to admit that's just me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like conflict, but at the same time, I know there's healthy conflict, and also, I think it, we talked about this, and now,
this is what we call a trigger.
Yeah, it's a trigger. It's very triggering because obviously it just brings back, just the file cabinet of all the things that happened.
Whenever you're triggered, like with your trauma, you tend to like clam up and like have a hard time communicating, right?
Yeah,
I'm the opposite.
It's called stonewalling.
When I'm triggered, it's an avoidant thing.
Yeah.
When I'm triggered, because I'm anxious, I talk too much, and it's gotten me in great trouble in my past.
So we're just we balance.
Yeah. So just so you all know, like it's like happening, like on camera here a little bit.
Right
even
now.
Just bringing it up.
I just
but it just also to me speaks to there was real trauma.
There's a lot of trauma
in 2019 that happened to us that we're still working through today. Because Amanda, we were mistreated. You were mistreated at that time.
Yeah.
By leaders, and it was
very, very lonely. It was like, I guess if you could call it, abandoned. There was a lot of just abandonment. So it's just kind of like, we're so used to just being like, So it's it's a lot.
It's all right. It's all right. Take your time.
It's a lot. But
I understand it's hard.
So
But
you're going to be addressing some things, and obviously, I think I'm a little bit more like, oh, I'm coming around to being okay with it, because it's just some of the things that have come to light in the last several months. Really, it's just been I see the Lord in it, and ever since really you blew the whistle in 2019, it's just been one thing after another, and I'm like,
yeah, the floodgates have opened for it.
So
it needs to happen.
But I was kind of hoping our part, your part, would be over with, and you could still choose to say nothing. But I do know there was a lot that we were just, you're not going to say anything, and we've learned through counseling that some things just need to be said out loud.
Yeah, and we talked about this earlier this week in counseling. Sometimes some things choose you rather than you choose it. And I feel like this has chosen me. Like, I didn't choose to be abused as a kid.
No.
I didn't choose, for what happened in 2019. That was thrust upon me. We were on a road trip in June
of
2019.
One person after another just coming to us.
Yeah,
and I was like,
I don't know if you remember, we were at lunch with that pastor in Pennsylvania, like in the middle of nowhere, and he just comes out and says, I have someone in my congregation who is abused by Todd. And we were like, okay.
It's just like the conversation just turned.
And then she showed us the screenshots, and it's like there comes a point where you can't deny it anymore.
No.
So all that to say, though, there's some things that you choose, but other things that like choose you.
Correct.
And we have overcome in this area. And we have worked through all the trauma that's come with all this. And I feel like we can help others heal.
Absolutely.
And also, I feel like we can help others get free who are even maybe currently being abused by speaking out.
Yeah.
And that's worth it,
Yeah. I just totally lost my train of thought as soon as you put your hand on me.
No, that's all right.
But
so I have a pen and paper here to write stuff down. Do you need one?
Well, not anymore. The thought's completely gone.
That'll be for the next podcast. We'll have our own pad.
But no, I mean, like you said, it chooses you, and God will get us through it. No matter, everybody's got their opinion, and they think they know, and there's things that we think we know, but we don't know. Only God knows, and all we know is what we have seen and what we have witnessed firsthand, and what and we realize those those people that cause those things, that it's because of their own traumas and stuff. So there's that grace there, but at the same time, it's like when do you say, okay, enough is enough?
No,
because
we can have compassion and empathy for leaders that are abusing others because they themselves were abused. And I do think that's the case. Like with Todd, I know for a fact he was abused as a kid, but still we cannot, that's still not an excuse for that behavior to continue. And we can't be foolish and allow, leaders to stay in a position where they can continue to abuse others when they have a proven track record over many decades that they're going to continue to do this.
Yeah. I think it's just, I think you can just easily brush aside common sense when you over spiritualize things.
That right there. That's it.
And we have witnessed a lot of over spiritualization, and a lot like everybody's that's watching the dumpster fire. It's like, hello, no.
Yeah.
Call a spade a spade.
That's it. And a lot of people have not been willing to do that, and it's been perplexing.
Yeah.
And
there's a balance too. It's like recognizing where God is working, but at the same time having the common sense to be like, this is abuse, or no, this is a cover up, or whatever we're witnessing and we're seeing. So,
well, just a lot of times as we close this podcast, a lot of times you just got to be willing to sacrifice to do the right thing. And I know we paid a price in 2019.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes people just aren't willing to do that, but God is calling for people, I believe today, that are willing to take up their cross and follow him and do what's right. Because, if you're going to be in the ministry, if you're going to serve the Lord, I mean, if you're not willing to take up your cross, if you're not willing to lay everything on the altar to serve God and to serve God's people, then what are we doing here? I mean, what are we just running a cool social club?
Yeah. And there's more things that I will share in future podcasts that the Lord has spoken to me and, about this.
We won't get too much into it now. I just wanted to kind of throw that curveball at the end.
All right, how long do we want these podcasts? Like, I've heard if you keep it under 30 minutes, you can keep the captivation. And he's like, well, there's also 3 hours. I'm like, I can tell you right now, 3 hours.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to be engaged.
About an hour right now. I think it's good.
But we're we'll see where the edits lie and what we keep and what we chuck. So,
anything you want to say in closing?
This has been fun.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Maybe next time we got to get some more comfy chairs.
I know. We just got our little fold-up chairs right now. We'll get the whole setup, all right?
We'll get the nice setup going.
Yeah, we'll get like our little mechanical arms here. And
get my beats and look legit.
That would be funny.
Yeah.
So you want to just join me in prayer real quick? Father, I just pray for everyone watching this podcast, Lord. I pray that our conversation would just be enlightening and encouraging to everyone who watches and is going to watch, Lord. And I just pray, Lord, that as we share our journey in life and marriage and family and in ministry openly and vulnerably, I just pray bring healing to those who have been hurt, Lord. I pray bring wisdom, bring understanding to those who need it, Lord. And I just pray minister to each heart, Lord, to every marriage, to every person in ministry, to every child of God that would be listening and watching. And Lord, I just speak blessing over this podcast, Lord. And I ask that you would just use it for your glory and to help your people, Lord, with some of the things that the church is facing today and some of the difficult tasks that are at hand, Lord. I pray give us all courage and strength to do, Lord, what you're calling us to do in this hour, Lord. May we all take up our cross and follow you, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. God bless you all. We'll see you next time on Let's Talk About It.